What's going on? My name is Michael and welcome to Fudge Muppet. Recently on the channel we've taken a little break from making videos to play some more Starfield for ourselves and get immersed in every aspect of the game. We've analysed and reflected on many parts of the game which we're keen to make discussions on soon, and we'll have many more videos coming covering all the fun little details that are so easy to miss. I'm really keen to get going on an explorer scientist type playthrough next. With hundreds of hours logged, it feels like we've done almost everything you can do now. However, there's still so many things I wish I knew about sooner. From weapon mods and stats or effects that aren't explained properly to special character changing dialogue options, or even just cool locations I didn't stumble across for a very long time. The 5 things we'll cover in this video are free of story spoilers, and as always, if you enjoy Starfield content like this, please do click the like button below and let us know what you want to see next. The first thing I wish I knew about sooner is actually a location called Vulture's Roost. I don't know how I didn't find this one sooner because I'd been to the Jaffa system where it's located, and I guess I just got carried away with enjoying Jaffa 2, getting lost in the cool scenery and unique aliens, including invisible ones, and this flying alien, that I managed to miss Jaffa 4, a planet with the location of Vulture's Roost. This place is awesome. It's kind of like a main base or settlement belonging to the ecliptic mercenaries you'll find throughout the galaxy. There are various bedrooms throughout full of loot, including contraband, whether that's just laying around on tables or in contraband caches. There's also plenty of decorative loot laying around which you might want to grab if you're into decorating. There's a locked jail cell too, and plenty of aurora around the place. Just don't forget to bring digipics, you'll want a lot on hand. Did I mention the bar? They've got a full-on bar blaring rock music similar to the Crimson Fleet Pirates on the quay, so it makes for a very fun fight blasting through here. There's also these podium type things lit up with credits and chems on the floor. I'll let you make your own mind up about what's going on here. There's even stuff in the bathrooms. From the outside, the whole place looks really cool nestled into the cliffs here, and the planet in general, with these massive rock structures and lizard-type creatures roaming around, has a really dry, remote feel. The place is equally fun to go through at nighttime, and there's actually not a whole lot of lighting at times, so you may want to use your torch. But if you do come at night, I'd still recommend waiting somewhere to see it in the day as well. Besides being an awesome location for the reasons we've discussed, a ship is also set to show up during the fight and drops down in this inner landing zone. It's one of the dagger ships you may have seen in the game before, but this is a set location where you can find one and quickly board it and steal it after killing the enemies who come out. The ship itself is nothing crazy, but it definitely makes the location even more memorable than it already is. Another thing I didn't know about for ages is that you can actually remove your traits, if you want to, for role-playing reasons of course. You can get rid of alien DNA, empath, spaced, and terra firma by paying 10,000 credits to the doctor. Just go visit any Reliant medical facility and see for yourself. You can get rid of Dream Home by going to Gal Bank in New Atlantis' commercial district and saying, "The bank can have the house, go ahead and foreclose," and they'll take it back. You can get rid of Introvert, Extrovert, Taskmaster, and Raised Enlightened by seeking guidance within the House of the Enlightened in the Well, which is definitely my favorite zone of New Atlantis. You can get rid of Freestar Collective Settler by talking to the mayor in Aquila City, found up the path to the right of the rock when you're facing it. And I will just say here that for the most part, all these options to remove traits have pretty solid role-playing rationalizations too. For example, you can often see hypocrisy within the main factions of Starfield, and I can see plenty of people having a character arc where they cast their faction ties aside. You can remove hero worshipped by persuading your adoring fan to leave or by initiating attack dialogue and then just killing him, and you can get rid of kid stuff by telling your parents you're no longer going to be sending them money. This feels so mean though, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you have a strong reason. Neon Street Rat can be removed by talking to Madame Sauvage in Neon. Raised Universal can be removed by talking to Keeper Aquilus in New Atlantis. Serpent's Embrace can be removed by talking to a prisoner in New Atlantis. Simply go to the UC security office found here and you'll find her in this cell and tell her you're having a crisis of faith. United Colonies Native can be removed by talking to Administrator Rooks at the mast building on New Atlantis. Simply head to the defense research level and follow the path on screen and you'll be able to talk to him in this room. And finally, Wanted can be removed by talking to a Trackers Alliance member, such as this one here on Sidonia, and paying off your unique bounty for 3,000 credits. Stuff like this is really cool in a role-playing game, however, it seems there's no way to add traits, and I really wish there was. Sure, some of them might not make sense to be added, however, plenty of them do. For example, imagine you could talk to the Varun prisoner on New Atlantis and become convinced of their faith after a deep discussion. We'll talk more about this in a video on all the things we'd want Bethesda to enhance in Starfield. The next thing I wish I knew much sooner was a little trick you can implement to get a vendor with a super fast refresh time. I'm talking wait 1 hour and their 5,000 credits will be replenished, allowing you to sell huge loot hauls with less hassle. Just keep in mind that you won't be able to sell stolen items or contraband here, so if you've got a huge contraband haul from going through Vulture's Roost, then you're still going to have to get rid of it at the Den or on Poroma 3 or at all the vendors within the key. So there's a few different variations of this, but basically what you can do is find a planet that has a very advantageous time difference when it comes to UT time versus their own. Venus is a great example people love to use. As you'd know, Venus can be found within our own solar system named Sol, not far from Alpha Centauri. Here you can wait 1 hour, which equates to 100 UT hours, which appears to be the time used for vendors to replenish their credits. So what you'll want to do here on Venus is land all over it until you find an outpost. You'll be able to find their icons that look like this. Some of these civilian outposts will have vendors with only 2,600 credits, others won't have vendors, and some will have vendors with 5,000 credits, which is what you'll want. Simply land around the planet enough until you're able to locate these with your scanner, find one with 5,000 credits and a place to sit, like this one with the stools in front of the counter, and sell your loot to the vendor here, and then wait 1 hour on the stool, and then when you talk to the vendor, their credits will be fully replenished, allowing you to sell again. If you don't want to spend time running over to an outpost like this from your ship, then you could build your own outpost with a landing pad nearby to make fast traveling back here very easy. People also use this time zone difference to make their outposts process tasks faster and often sell massive amounts of resources doing this to the point that they're over encumbered, but it doesn't matter if they land their ship really close. Let me know in the comments your favorite way to sell loot fast. The next thing I wish I knew earlier was just how cool some of the weapon mods are, and also just what they do, because sometimes you've just got to test things out for yourself to see if it's worth it. And look, for many characters it won't be worth it to go and get these mods if you're looking to invest in other skills and not go heavily into the science tree. The weapon engineering skill and special projects rank 1 is not going to be the path that everyone wants to go down, as you can always find powerful weapons that come with various modifications that are good enough to kill your way through any base. But it's very rare to ever find some of the coolest modifications in the game, and while maybe technically it's possible to find anything, I just can't say for sure, because there's so many cool weapon mods I've just never seen as loot. One example would be the Hornet Nest modification, which many people put on the Negotiator heavy weapon. You can see here how if you fire it in the air, it shoots down blasts below it. However, you can actually put this on a Coachman shotgun to turn it into an absolute fireworks show annihilator that makes a rainstorm of clusters that blast down from the sky. You can shoot this above many enemies to hit them all at once, however it will do the most damage if you shoot at closer ranges and concentrate all the additional explosive firepower into a smaller area. It's the perfect thing to use against enemies who are behind cover, and it makes precision less important due to the area damage. The Coachman also uses a common ammo type, so it's super convenient compared to the 40 XPL ammo used by weapons like the Bridger and the Negotiator. If you're lucky, you'll find a legendary Coachman with the extended magazine special effect, and then you'll have 4 shots instead of 2 before you need to reload, but even 2 is good enough. Maybe you'll want to put a suppressor on it too and make some fireworks from a hiding spot. There are many options with weapon modding, but not everything has to be so high octane. Perhaps you'd prefer other options, like fléchette rounds, which cause a bleeding effect, penetrator rounds to shoot through multiple enemies at once, or even Tesla pylons, which you can fire onto surfaces and they'll shoot electricity everywhere. They seem to be best if you shoot them directly at enemies like a normal shot, or right next to them as if you're using an explosive weapon and you wanted them to get caught by the impact. They'll do plenty of damage in an area of effect upon impact, seemingly much more than the drain they do over time. Another interesting one is Annihilator rounds. Banned by almost every government, these rounds produce a disease-like effect that spreads to any target that gets too close. From making a weapon overclocked to increase its fire rate, to changing its damage type to electromagnetic so you can stun enemies with an EM weapon that's not usually used for such purposes, there's just loads that you can do. You can put magnetic rails on a mag shear along with a shock charge band used to create an electric burst of energy to rounds passed through it, and then chuck the depleted uranium rounds mod on top, which not only looks really cool but works great for armor penetration. From testing, it does seem to go through armor better than armor piercing rounds, despite both needing the same magazine and battery mods to research. Maybe you'll want stealth lasers on a laser weapon to use them for stealth builds, and ignition beams to set enemies on fire. You may find that some guns aren't your thing, but then feel completely different after some upgrades. Even this AA99 here just looks a bit smoother and more high-tech with the mods I've applied. Again, some of these mods can be found randomly on looted guns, but you don't tend to find most of the coolest ones, and it's unlikely you'll find the very best ones all together on the exact gun you want, so if you're going to be investing into science with your build, then these mods can be a lot of fun and really cool. I mean, the Hornet's Nest mod may as well be like finding an entirely new weapon. I just really want Bethesda to add in modding melee weapons in upcoming updates to really help take melee builds to the next level. The final thing on this list I wish I knew earlier was if the Chameleon effect stacks. Throughout your time exploring various planets in Starfield, you can come across the Chameleon effect on various pieces of armor, be that a spacesuit, helmet, or boost pack. You gain a cloak effect when you crouch and don't move, and this boosts how hard you are to detect. If you're a complete noob with no ranks in the stealth skill, then the Chameleon effect is not going to be some sort of saving grace. However, it still gives you an edge which is quite useful for stealth builds. You'll also be able to move while using it without breaking detection if you nudge your movement along a tiny bit at a time, and I haven't tried this with a keyboard, but I assume that it's probably a bit easier to control with an Xbox controller. One touch too far and you'll reveal yourself. Anyway, if you're lucky enough to find multiple pieces of Chameleon gear, or you simply acquire it on a bunch of legendary gear using a farming method, then you'll actually be able to use them together and have the stealth boost buffed, only while the cloak is active, of course. This is really helpful if you're the kind of character who wants to stay still and pick their shots, such as a sniper. Up close, it can be useful too if you're somewhat good at stealth already. However, in my opinion, going all the way up the physical tree to get the concealment skill is still the best choice if you're trying to make the stealthiest build possible. The problem that happens here, and I hope Bethesda patches it, is that the third rank of concealment, which grants you your own chameleon-like cloak while sneaking and staying still without needing gear, actually hinders the impact of the chameleon gear. People say it stops the chameleon gear from working at all. However, through testing, I found that when I've got rank 3 of concealment, each piece of chameleon gear I equip still makes me harder to detect. However, it's still worse than throwing on pieces of chameleon gear without rank 3 of concealment. Rank 2 of concealment is pretty good, as it's what removes the penalty for moving while sneaking as far as uncloaked detection goes. However, it's still a disappointment if you want to use lots of chameleon gear, and we're thinking that the concealment skill would add on top. This leads me to 2 pieces of advice. While you can just get 2 ranks of concealment and use chameleon gear, I actually think that if you're going to be playing the stealthiest build of all time, getting all 4 ranks of concealment and not necessarily worrying about getting a full set of chameleon gear is actually a good way to go. You're still more effective in combat as a stealth build with concealment due to rank 4's effect, which allows you to lose distant enemies while sneaking. Having that really helps to keep your stealth meter in the caution state and still allows you to be firing off sneak attack multiplier hits on enemies that actually land as they run around looking for you. It's a much smoother experience than doing the same with no concealment skill ranks and a full set of chameleon gear, and will allow for more sneak attack multipliers in your combat, and of course more potent ones too. I mean, you can still add a full set of chameleon gear if you want to. However, if you still want the proper benefit of using that, it's going to be for playing a stealth build that probably doesn't use concealment. These kinds of builds tend to be snipers, the kinds of characters who don't care to move around while sneaking in combat anyway, and tend to be sitting still shooting from afar. This way you can save skill points and invest heavily into cool combat skills instead, fitting for a sniper build, still get the stealth skill with a much smaller investment into the physical tree, and then if you're wanting some better stealth, stacking a bunch of chameleon gear together. I'll let you decide which way you want to go and what opportunity cost is worth it for you. Please do hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, it really does help us out, and subscribe if you want to get more Starfield content like this. We've got plenty of videos in the works including ship builds, character builds, more details you may have missed, discussion type videos on skills and DLC. Just stick around if you love Starfield, you won't regret it. Social media links can be found in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning into Fudge Muppet. We're super grateful for all of your support. My name is Michael, and I'm going back to play more Starfield.